Welcome to the AI Queens podcast, the show where women entrepreneurs learn to ditch the overwhelm, embrace AI, and build businesses fit for royalty. I'm Erika Stanley, your host and tech expert, here to deliver tools, tips, and actionable strategies to help you scale smarter. Let's get to it. Hey there, Queens. Welcome back. I am so excited about today's guest because we are talking about diversifying our income streams without burning out in the process. I recently attended the She Leads AI Create conference in Salt Lake City. You've heard me talk about that on previous episodes. Huge shout out to Anne Murphy and that incredible community where I met today's guest. Trudy-Anne Armand, she totally blew my mind with her keynote on using AI to identify hidden revenue streams that you're probably already giving away for free. Now, here's what makes Trudy so brilliant. She is a small business AI strategist, co-founder of Her Mine AI, and creator of the 5 to 9 Freedom Framework. And she's also, as I learned, a brilliant speaker and educator. She makes AI super simple, relatable, and actionable for women who are ready to future-proof their income. Get ready to meet the brilliant Trudy-Anne Armand. Trudy, welcome to AI Queens.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Erika. That was really very, very kind of you. This wonderful welcome. And I'm glad that my session resonated with so many women because I am really very passionate about the importance of having that income resilience and having a plan B, quite frankly, just in case whatever situation you're in, you need to get out of it, or you need just to make sure you have some options.
Absolutely. And one of the things that you started off with, you challenged this idea that a stable job equals security. And those of you who have been listening to the podcast for a while know I went through a layoff. I started my business because I got laid off. And you hit this moment where you're like, oh, well, I just wanted that steady income. And you realize that that steady security is not coming from someone else. I think the phrase you used is your salary is the ceiling, not the foundation. Can you explain what did you mean for that? Like, what's the wake-up call that my audience needs to hear?
So, what I mean by your salary is the ceiling, right? Somebody else determines what's the maximum amount of money you will make. And even if it's something you could be earning 6 figures and you're saying, oh, that's amazing, I'm making X. But many times with your own business, you can determine if you want to continue to scale and grow and attain something beyond what someone set for you as your ceiling. So I think it's a mindset shift, right? Because we could, when we're in corporate America, we're looking for that next promotion and the next promotion, the increase and so on. But realistically, those increases are getting smaller and smaller as time goes on. And no matter if you put in this additional amount of effort, there's still a cap on how much you can make.
Yeah. And speaking of effort, I also remember you talking about how so many women give away what you call effortless expertise. We are giving this away for free. What is that? And how do we start recognizing when we're even doing it?
Yeah. So I look at myself, for example, I'm very creative. And so when I do things in the creative space, which I enjoy doing, I don't necessarily think of that it has value because I think, oh, well, that's easy for me. I don't even have to think about it. I just do it. And so I assume it's easy for everyone else. So therefore, it has no value or it has very little value. And that's so not true because I have friends who don't like things that are creative. That's to them is torture. They'd rather pay someone else to do it. And so that's the key is to realize that just because it's easy for you doesn't mean it doesn't have value for somebody else. And even better when you can marry something that's easy for you and it can generate income and it's in demand. Oh my goodness. Then it's just, that's the perfect storm right there.
That's the trifecta. Yeah, it's funny. I love doing creative things and I love spreadsheets, but I hate bookkeeping. And my bookkeeper absolutely loves numbers. She loves it. And I feel so fortunate that I have these people in my life who absolutely love to do the things that I can't stand doing, and that and that I love doing things that they don't want to do. And I think so many of us fall into that trap, that thinking like, "Oh, this it's just second nature. It's so easy for me." And so we undervalue the effortless expertise that we have, or that we have developed over time. We forget about the time that we've put in to develop that
Mhm.
expertise
Right.
and the value behind that as well.
Absolutely, because a lot of those skills are ones that you honed one way or the other. Even if you're playing and you enjoy doing it, it still required time and effort to hone those skills. And so, absolutely agree with you. Yes.
Yeah. And at the conference, so Anne Murphy, who is the founder of She Leads AI, one of the things that Anne left us with in that very first the introduction of the conference was that when we fail to charge for the things that we are doing, it might feel like we're doing a favor. It might feel like like it's just a little thing. But what we're actually doing, we're not just selling ourselves short. We are actually doing a disservice to the women who are coming after us, because now we are training the people who would have hired us and could have potentially paid us. We're training them that that expertise comes for free. So it is
Yep.
not just a disservice to ourselves, but to the others who might be able to make money after us.
Yep. And I think the other thing that I remember that I've also worked through and I'm continuing to work through is that sometimes we're in other people's pockets and we think that we know what they can pay and also what they could be willing to pay. And so we either don't charge because we don't think they'll pay, or we undercharge because we don't think they'll pay what it's worth. So that's a mindset shift, and that's something that even now I still work through that. So I think it's something that and to Anne's point, that we don't want to set that as a precedent, right? We don't want that to be the legacy that we leave for other women that are coming behind us.
Yeah. All right. I want to introduce my audience to your brilliant custom GPT, Reva. Let's talk about Reva. So for those who were not at the conference, obviously, can you explain what is she? Like why did you create Reva? What does it do? Give us a little walkthrough.
So Reva is a custom GPT that allows us to copy and paste pieces of information either from your LinkedIn profile, from your resume, because some people don't have LinkedIn, and then on top of that, add additional things that you're doing that there is value to it. And perhaps if you put it in the context of everything that you've done, you can start to identify some themes, you can identify some opportunities. And so the about section of LinkedIn, the experiences, you can, as I said, add your resume, free form text, just type out you're on the board of an organization, you paint on weekends, whatever it is that you do. It's really exciting to put it in and see what it comes back with. And then from there, as you mentioned, the output from there is I think it's what, five or six things that it gives you: the hidden monetizable skills, the market demand analysis, a revenue opportunity score, and then immediate action steps, and also a well-being check, because we definitely want to make sure we have balance. We don't, especially if you have a 9 to 5 that you're also working, we don't want this to be something that becomes unmanageable because now you've added more things to your plate.
Oh gosh, yeah, and that's definitely a challenge when you want to create something new, take on new work. I When I was first filling out the information for Reva, so what I did was I took a screenshot of the top of my LinkedIn profile. I took a screenshot of my about section. Then I went to the about page on my website because there's more detailed information there, and I took screenshots there as well. But I realized as I was reading through that there are some really cool things that I have done lately that are exciting, especially in the AI world, and some topics that I have taught workshops about. And so I just voice dictated those into the custom GPT to give it a little bit more depth and context as to like who I am and what lights me up. Because the things on my LinkedIn profile, my experience, the things the things that are out there for the professional world, yeah, I mean they're nice and professional, but they are not necessarily the things that light me up. And so adding that extra level of depth, I think gave your custom GPT more information about me that it was then able to pull from.
Yep. And the other thing that we talked about at the conference was the fact that those of us who have a 9 to 5, you may not put everything that you're doing outside of there, even on LinkedIn. And so that's why I encourage to not just use LinkedIn. Think of the things that you don't add there for one reason or the other. Like you said, maybe it's more interest is it may not live on LinkedIn based on the context or whatever, but definitely add those things. I think that's when you get some ideas like, oh, and I think it feels exciting when you can really link those things, like you said, that light you up with potential revenue. Like, oh, wait, really? That's a thing? I can do that? So yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, it was really cool because there were a lot of women at the conference, and those of you listening might be able to relate to this. So they've got a normal 9 to 5 job, but they're at this conference because they're really into AI. So for them, that was the thing that was lighting them up. That's the thing that could be their extra revenue stream or side hustle. But if you've got something in your life, doesn't have to be AI related, that you really enjoy doing that could turn into an additional revenue stream, that's additional information that you could put in that might not, like Trudy said, that might not live on your LinkedIn. So don't let the screenshots be your ceiling here. So with Reva, you're going to get some examples
Mhm.
of different things that could become additional revenue streams. And then from there, you can take one of those ideas and run with it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I encourage, right? There are lots of things on that list that you could say, okay, I could do that. I could do that. But focus on one thing. Focus on that one thing for 30 days. Let's start off with 30 days of focusing on that one thing. And then from there, you can decide if it is something that works, you're starting to see some traction, you're starting to get some good feedback around, then you can decide, do you scale that thing? And I talked about a few other opportunities in the same vein that you don't have to reinvent the wheel, but you can have some different additional offshoots of that opportunity. So yeah, definitely focus on one, the one that excites you the most, the one that is lower stress, preferably. And then the GPT gives you, or Reva gives you some immediate action steps, to some ideas on how to get started, because I think that's the other piece. This is all great, but it doesn't mean anything if you don't take action.
Yeah, I think that's huge. That's a huge benefit. I remember it giving me pricing suggestions as well,
Yes.
and then helping me to prioritize based on like the amount of stress that it could cause in my life, the amount of effort that it would take for me to put this together. And I think that's important too as you are thinking about adding these extra revenue streams. We talk a lot on this podcast about how to use AI to streamline processes and help prevent burnout. So as you're doing this, I want you to really think about what can I do that is a low level of effort for me, but a high level of value for someone else. Going back to that effortless expertise, the things that come super easily to you, but are just going to blow the socks off of somebody else when they see, like, oh, wait, you can do that. Like,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. That's the sweet spot. Absolutely. Yeah.
So I know you also talked about, so you've got this filtering system,
Mhm.
energy, ROI, and sustainability. And Reva helps you to score. Can you walk us through the energy piece, the ROI, the sustainability pieces of this? And I want to say, you don't even have to use Reva for this.
Right.
This is something that, I mean, you can just voice dictate into ChatGPT or Claude and say, hey, here's what I'm thinking, here's what I'm feeling, here's what excites me. I'm looking for some additional revenue streams. But I really do also want you guys to think about the energy levels, the ROI, and the sustainability of these, whether or not you're using this custom GPT, because there are a million different things that you could, with your own genius from your own brain, turn into an additional revenue stream. I mean, I could I could be a 5 to 9 plumber. Fun fact, I'm actually really good at just basic household plumbing. But is that something that I want to do? So, Trudy, let's break this down, like the energy, the ROI, and the sustainability test.
Anything that we do or aspire to do in the long term or for the long term requires our ability to sustain and go the distance, right? Because that's part of anything that we're doing that's going to take our time and effort will require us to determine how long we can sustain it. If not, it's really not worth it, right? So the ROI, what are you going to get out of the level of effort that you put into it? And that's that balance, right? Are you getting enough out of it to warrant the amount of effort and time you're putting into it? And so that's where, and like you said, whether you use Reva or something else, to identify, okay, how much effort will this take, especially when you're looking, if you do have a 9 to 5 and you're looking at the extra hours that you have in the day, how many of those extra hours do you have available? Is that something that you can do on a regular basis to get the momentum you need to make this additional income stream viable? And so that's that balance of making sure that you also look at time for self-care, because that's important. You cannot pour from an empty cup. So you need to make sure that you're maintaining enough of your self and well-being in order to sustain. So that's that kind of balance, the output, the amount of input, and how long can you sustain at that level that you need to in order to see some return.
I totally agree. I think the sustainability piece in particular is so important, especially for women who are already operating at capacity. What are some red flags that you see that could tell our listeners, like, when an income stream isn't sustainable, even if it's still really good money?
That's a great question. So for me, and I've gone through this, right? I don't like the term serial entrepreneur because it reminds me of a serial killer, but but I guess that is an accurate description, right? I think I've been an entrepreneur since I was a child. So I am constantly thinking of different things that, because it's exciting for me to build something and get it to the point of having a return. And but when I dread doing it, whatever that thing is, that's a red flag right there, right? It even if I'm hearing the cha-ching, cha-ching, and so on,
Yep.
but I'm dreading the actual work or showing up to do the work, that's a problem. Because we talked about at the beginning about that joy, what lights you up, right? So if you start to feel like it's becoming something that you don't want to do anymore, that's a problem. And I think when we talk about AI or talk about systems, that's why it's also important to build some of those systems in and leverage AI to help you to perhaps do some of the parts of it that you may not enjoy. But if you find that even with that kind of automation, you're still dreading it, you're not enjoying it anymore, or if you didn't enjoy it to begin with, but the money sounded good, those are all signs that perhaps this is not, the balance isn't there. So I'd kind of reevaluate that.
Yeah. I also remember you saying, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no.
Yes, I actually took that from my friend Marcia Narayan Weldon, and that's one of her litmus tests, right? If it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. And I think the same thing is absolutely true here. If you're not feeling that alignment, that sense of yes, this is the thing, go into it. If you still want to move forward, go in with a little bit of caution. What is it about this that isn't feeling quite aligned with where you want to be? And when you visualize, because I do visualize things on the other side of wherever I'm trying to go, and does that visual align with what I want and what I'm doing to get there. And that's the piece that I think is helpful for that hell no, hell yes. Okay, well, if I do this and it feels good, will it end up where or does it have the potential to end up where I want it to go? And that's how I kind of think through my opportunities that come to me.
Yeah, that's so smart. Okay, so let's say somebody's used Reva, they've scored their ideas, they've got their red flags, their green flags, and they've picked their hell yes income stream.
Yes, this is exciting.
What should they do in the next 30 days to actually get this off the ground?
So it really depends on what the thing is, right? So when it comes to things like consulting opportunities or training opportunities, it's key to kind of stress test your idea using you're in your network, identifying perhaps potential targets for your product, and then seeing, okay, would they be willing to give you some feedback on whatever this idea is? Would they go through it if you've already started it as a pilot? Perhaps can you give you some, and in exchange they can give you some testimonials and some feedback so you can refine it and make it better. So initially it's identifying, and let me step back for a minute. When you have a product you're bringing to market, one of the things that's important, and I know, Erika, you can speak to this, is your ICP, right? Your ideal customer profile. Who are you selling this thing, whatever this thing is, whether it be a good or a service, to? And so identifying that very early on so that you can identify who the people are in your network that could be the ideal for this, that you can then bounce these ideas off of, that I think should be one of the first things that you start with.
Awesome. So they've got their first customers. They're maybe running a pilot program. I actually want to talk up Trudy for just a second. She is running a pilot program for a new program that she's doing. We're going to talk about that in a second. But how do we get people to the point where they are, this is great, this is a great revenue stream, but it's not going to take over my life?
So, as far as having it not take over your life, I think one of the key things that we talked about is setting boundaries, and setting those boundaries early is better. So, for example, something like not working on Sundays. If you do need to include the weekend in order to get your project off the ground, but setting some boundaries around not working weekends, not working after the sun goes down, or something around structure that maintains that space for that self-care and for stepping away and pouring back into yourself, and having those boundaries so it doesn't consume every waking minute, because that's a kind of a little bit of a slippery slope, because when you start seeing that momentum, at least for me, I know that, like, oh, if I spend just another hour and another hour and another hour, and I look up and it's been 6 hours. So putting those guardrails in place that say, okay, I won't work on Sundays, or I won't work when the sun goes down, or I'll make sure that I get up every hour and go outside and touch some grass, or whatever
Oh
works
yeah.
for you.
I I love that. I forget to do that as well. And I think that's a great segue into my very last question for you, Trudy, is what would you say to the woman listening right now who's thinking, this all sounds great. I'm excited. This sounds totally doable, but I'm so overwhelmed. I can't add one more thing to my plate.
Yeah. I would challenge that, right? I have a I'm by others' accounts overscheduled, right? And so many I get this question probably once a week. How do I do it all? Everything that I'm doing. And I venture to say that there is time in your day that you're doing something else with, scrolling, doom scrolling, for example. There are pockets of time during your day that you could be working on this thing if it's what you want to do. For example, for me, I brainstorm with my GPTs during my commute. I have a 100-mile round trip commute. And so I am not
Wow.
wasting that time. And so I brainstorm, I talk back and forth, I do different things. Lunch times, if I'm working on something, I may take a lunchtime to do that. So I would challenge that there probably is time in your day but you want to make sure that's the high value use of your time. And knowing what we started with at the beginning of the conversation, with the fact is that it's highly likely that having a plan B is probably something most of us should have, just for some income security with all the layoffs and all the different things that are going on. So when you put it in that context, and the importance of having this peace of mind that you're building something that is yours, like you mentioned, Erika, when you got laid off, having something that you already had some foundation and, is already in place and you could lift and shift into, gives you that peace of mind. That's something that I think is almost invaluable. So I would venture to say, look at your time, maybe do some time blocking and see where you may have some time to do something.
Yeah. And I would also say to our listeners to start small.
Mm-hmm.
You do not have to build the castle from the beginning. You can start with a shack. I started that because I did an episode on vibe coding where I had made the mistake with vibe coding where I started to try to build the castle and it didn't work, and I got frustrated and gave up. And so I would say with this as well, you do not have to have every single piece of this together and perfect to launch it. You can start with a small idea, take it out, test it, see how it goes, see how well it's received and how well you like it.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Absolutely.
build from there.
Absolutely.
And I think having a lot of self-compassion too. I think when we try to do something and it doesn't go perfectly as planned right out of the gate, we are our harshest critics.
Yep. I heard something the other day, and I if the person who said it hears this, forgive me if I don't recall who said it, but the saying is, if you're not embarrassed when you launch, you waited too long. I think it was LinkedIn. Actually, I think it's a quote from one of the LinkedIn founders, that if you're not a little bit embarrassed when you launch, you waited too long to
Oh,
launch.
wow. I love that because we always see the imperfections. Most people won't. Most people won't
Yeah.
notice them at all. So,
Yep.
all right. Trudy, where can my AI queens find you and learn more about Hermine AI, getting access to Reva, and how they can work with you if they're interested?
Sure. So my website is Hermine. So it's HER-MINE.ai. And then for Reva, it's HER-MINE.ai/Reva, REV is in Victor A. So it's Reva like revenue, if to help you to remember.
I love that. I love that. Very cool. And if they want to find you on social media, where do you hang out online?
So I'm new to TikTok. I'm actually enjoying the TikTok journey, probably more than I thought I would. I'm Trudy Armand on TikTok, and then on Instagram, I'm also Trudy Armand, but I also have my Hermine AI on Instagram. So I'm all over.
Awesome. And I will put all of those links in the show notes so that people can connect with you after the episode.
Awesome.
Queens, if you heard yourself in this conversation, if you have been operating at full capacity and giving away your expertise for free, or if you're wondering if there's a better way to monetize what you already know and love and the things that light you up, I want you to take Trudy's challenge. Go find Reva, paste in your LinkedIn profile, all of the things that are exciting you about work and about what you're doing these days, and just see what comes back. You might be shocked at what AI shows you about your own hidden potential. And don't forget what we mentioned at the beginning, what Anne Murphy said at the conference. When you charge for your expertise, you're not just helping yourself, you are setting a better precedent for every woman who comes after you. Trudy, thank you so much for sharing your brilliance, your framework, and your brilliant custom GPT with us today. This was amazing and so much fun.
Thank you so much, Erika. This was amazing. The AI queens are blessed to have you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, Queens, before we go, I want to share something with you that pairs perfectly with what Trudy just taught us. If you loved learning about how to use AI to identify revenue streams, you need to hear my conversation with Michael Stelzner on his AI Explored podcast. We dove deep into building an AI Chief Marketing Officer, the AI CMO, so that you're using AI not just as an intern, but as a strategic partner that knows your brand, understands your goals, and helps to think critically about your business. And here's the thing, Trudy shows you how to identify what to monetize. My AI CMO can show you how to strategically market those income streams once you've chosen them. So the two GPTs work really, really well together. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to go listen to that episode next. It's called Building an AI CMO that becomes your strategic marketing partner on the AI Explored podcast. And you can find the link to the CMO in the show notes, but it's just aiqueens.com/CMO. Then, because I've got no self-control and no chill, you can head over to my website and download. I made a custom app for this thing. It's the AI CMO. It's the prompt pack. I call it the cheat sheet. It's got 9 strategic prompts that didn't make it into the podcast conversation. So you put in all of your brand context and it spits out these custom prompts for you so that your AI CMO knows more about your business inside and out and can give you best responses. Again, I'm going to put links to all of this, how to connect with Trudy, how to work with her, how to download the 2 custom GPTs that we talked about. I'm going to put all of that in the show notes. Head on over to aiqueens.com and you'll find it there. Trust me, when you combine Trudy's revenue identification framework with the strategic marketing guidance from the CMO, you are going to be absolutely unstoppable. Thanks for listening to the AI Queens podcast. If you loved today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a fellow queen who needs to hear this. Want more tools and tips? Join the AI Queens Society over at aiqueens.com and start ruling your business with confidence today. Until next time, stay bold, stay curious, and keep reigning with AI.